Hello. In this video, this is the first of our GIMP editing tutorial videos. And I'm going to show you some of the basics of GIMP, and then you're going to have an assignment and you're going to follow along the steps. I'm going to show you all these steps, and you're going to be able to pause and do it or go back and rewind, whatever you need to do. That's why I'm recording these videos rather than doing them live. Now, GIMP should already be installed on your computer. It's part of the student image and the teacher image of every computer in Huntsville City Schools. And it's because all the photography teachers use it and some other classes use it as well around the district. So when you go to your start menu and you start typing down here, the little search bar, you start typing GIMP, the app should show up. Now, once you select it, it might take it a minute or two to open because it's, especially if you've never used it on your machine before, because it's going to need to open the palettes and the toolbars and get everything set up for you to use. Now, when we get the new machines, the new computers, I'm really hoping that those machines will have GIMP on them as well. They tell me that they're going to. And okay, let's close that out. So they should already come installed. Now, once you have GIMP set up and you open it the first time, to make your life a little easier and things go a little faster and smoother, you'll see the little icon, the little figure here pop up down on your taskbar, and if you right click on that, it'll let you pin it to the taskbar. Now mine's already pinned, so it says unpin, but you'll want to go ahead and pin it to the taskbar. That way you'll always have it there when you need it, and you don't have to search or anything. You just click the little GIMP icon. Now, just a little bit about what GIMP is. You don't need to know all the history of it, but GIMP is a free version of photo or image manipulation software, which is what the GIMP stands for, image manipulation. And it was created by some of the same coders and software writers that originally created Photoshop. Now, many years ago, they sold their program for Photoshop to a company called Adobe, who still owns and operates it. The Adobe has taken the software of Photoshop, and they've taken it in many different directions since then. But one of the things that the original creators were interested in was creating a free shareware version of photo manipulation software that is open source. And what that means is that this software is free to download, and you can actually also write in your own code. You can add brushes and filters and tools to the software itself. And there's a whole community out there of people who use GIMP, who share their stuff, and it is all over the world, and there are dozens and dozens of online communities and tutorials, and you can find YouTube videos that'll show you how to do all kinds of stuff, okay? So I'm not going to go over every detail of every tool, every brush, but what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how to do what you need to do to complete your working class. Just understand that there's a lot more to this software, or there can be, okay? So we're going to start with the very basics, the fundamentals, and we're going to develop from there quickly, and you're going to very quickly learn how to do some really cool stuff, I promise, okay? So we start by opening an image, and attached to your assignment, there's a file that you're going to need to download. It is a stock photo, and for many of these editing tutorials, we will use stock photos. So you don't have to file new or file open. You can go to file new and create a standard image. But when you're manipulating a photo, all you really need to do is to open as a layer, your photo that you want to manipulate. Now, it helps if on your desktop you've created a folder for photography, because that'll make your life a lot easier. And then all you have to do is just find your image, and the image we're gonna work on is called Braid. We're gonna open it, and it's going to set It's going to ask you, do you want to convert the color profile to sRGB? And you say, yes, we want to convert. Okay, and it's going to set the size of your canvas. This is your canvas, okay? And when I move the image, this is the move tool. When I move the image, I can see the gray and dark gray and light gray checkerboard. That's the canvas, okay? Move that layer of that photo around on that canvas. Now, you can make the canvas bigger or smaller. You can make the layer bigger or smaller. And if you resize the whole thing, or if you crop the whole thing, if you want to crop the entire image, or anything you want to do to the entire image, you need to do under the image menu. This is the image menu. Anything you want to do just to the layer, you do under the layer menu. It has some of the same tasks, right? I can crop, I can merge, I can do all kinds of things to either just the layer or to the image, okay? Now, so this is your move tool. You have a variety of selection tools, okay? The selection tools are under this button, and when you click on the button, right, it'll either be, if I right click, it'll let me either rectangle select or ellipse select. So if I want to select a circle, which we will later, we're going to use the ellipse select tool. If I want to select a box, it's rectangle select, okay? Now, I can also free select, okay? And in free selection, that's scissors select, I can select by color, I can crop. I'm not going to use any of those tools yet. I'm going to go to free select, okay? We're not going to align anything just yet. Okay. Now, free select lets me select something irregular in shape, okay? But what I'm going to do first is, this tutorial is called select, so we're going to select an object, we're going to move an object, we're going to remove an object, and we're going to replace an object, okay? So we're going to work on this little tattoo down here of the bird. And so I'm going to zoom in to 100%, or not from 100% to 400%, so that you can see the pixels of the bird here. Now I'm going to select that bird, and I'm going to do that with the ellipse select tool. Notice it changed to the circle. And I'm going to just select around the bird like that. Now that selection is active, and I can tell it's active because the line looks like it's kind of vibrating and moving. Now, all I need to do to move that bird is to copy it, right? So I can go to select, these are my selection tools, okay? I can go to edit, my editing tools, or I can use the keystrokes. So I can go to edit, copy, and it has copied just what's inside that circle, right? Now, once I have my copy, then I want to select none. And select none is something you'll use over and over and over again with your editing. And in order to select none, you Control-Shift-A. And notice the selection goes away, okay? So now I copied it. So now I need to paste it. So I can go to Edit, Paste, right? And I have paste options. I can paste it in place. If I paste it in place, it will put it at its original position, okay? Or I can paste it into a selection, okay? So I'm going to just paste. And so it didn't put it in its original position, it put it off to the side. Now with my move tool, well, while it's still selected, I can relocate it. I can move it anywhere I want to. So I'm going to, now once I have it moved, you'll notice over here in my layers menu, it says that it's floating. So it's not permanent. So I have to get it positioned where I want it and then anchor it down. And I do that by simply clicking off of it. So, or right-clicking here and anchor layer. So now it's anchored down in place, okay? So I can do it again. I can put as many birds here as I want. And another way to anchor it down is simply press this little green anchor button. So see, now it's anchored in place, okay? Now, So I've added two birds. Okay, we're going to fix some of the distortion here at the end. But I've added two birds. That's the first part. That's move. Now I'm going to remove. But before I do that, actually, I'm going to go back. So I'm going to undo. And I can undo by going into my history here. And I can, this is my history menu. And I can go to move floating selection. Okay, before it got anchored down. Now, one of the other things I can do with this while it's still a floating selection, go back here so I can see my layers, is I can rotate it, okay? And I can alter it. So I can do that with my rotate tool. I can do it with my, I can transform it. I can darken it or lighten it. I can zoom. I can do all kinds of tool or options to this selection. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and anchor it down. And then now I'm going to remove. So I did the move. Now I'm going to remove this bird. And I'm going to do that by using a tool called the clone tool. Okay? What the clone tool does, and you'll notice whenever you select on a tool, it gives you its tool options down here. What the clone tool does is it clones an area within inside a circle into another space. So the first thing I need to do is make my brush head much smaller. So I'm going to make that brush head smaller by using this toggle button down here. I'm going to bring it down to about 10. Okay. Now, I need to set a starting point for the clone. So I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard, and I'm going to press right next to it. Now, when I click on top of the bird, it's copying what's inside the circle. So if I move, if I just stationary click, it's only copying that circle. But if I move the circle, if I click and hold and move it and drag it, it'll actually drag and cover my bird. Now, I have removed that tattoo. So, I've moved, I've removed. Now, before we go any further, we want to get rid of some of that distortion that the coloring did with that circle. Okay, and how we do that is we use another tool. Okay, we're going to go to Tools. We have Selection Tools, and we can add some of these tools to our toolbox. Okay, I'll show you how to do that eventually. We have Transform Tools. So under the Transform tool, I'm going to use a tool called, let's see, here we go. I'm going to use a tool, see here's Rotate, I have Scale, that makes things bigger or smaller. I have Flip, I can flip it one way or the other. I have Cage Transform, and then I have Warp Transform, okay? Warp Transform lets me deform with different tools. So under Warp Transform, again, I want to make brush head smaller. Bring the size of that down. See, it's making my circle smaller, okay? And I can move the pixels, I can grow, I can sync, I can squirrel, and I can smooth warp, right? Smooth warping is what you want to do to smooth that, smooth out some of that, the edges of that darkening and lightening, okay? Now, the other thing I can do is I can go back to my clone tool and use it. Again, bring the size down a little bit, and I can choose some of this darker skin tones that are more appropriate, and I can clone out that circle. Again, move it to where you want, the coloration you want, and then clone it out. And what that does is it just softens that edge, okay? And it gets rid of some of that discoloration from where you copied that circle. So you won't see that circle. There we go. And you always want to choose like a color or a value that's close to where you're working, right? So I want this right here because it's going to cover that right there, okay? All right, so now when I zoom out from 400% to 100%, you don't see any of that discoloration. It looks like that was always there. So we've done move, we've done remove. Now we're going to do replace. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace the medallion of this necklace with something else that's circular. And you're going to have a couple options here. I want you to, you can go online and find any kind of circular object to replace it with, any kind of image. Just download a JPEG, make sure that it's high enough resolution, and then bring it, save it onto your desktop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open as layer, and I'm going to go and find my image that I want for this. There we go. I'm going to use this Captain America shield here, and I'm going to open it as a layer. Now you'll notice I have two layers over here. The shield is way bigger than the whole of the braid, which means the first thing I need to do is make it smaller. So I'm going to go to layer, not image, and I want to go to transform. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to scale layer, okay? And that's going to let me, I'm going to bring the size of that layer down significantly. Okay, now I can move it in place or closer to in place, right? And then I'm going to zoom back in. I'm going to need to work on its scaling. So this is where that scale tool comes in. So transform, and I go to scale. And with the scale tool, it gives me the same thing, but I can grab its edges and I can bring it up to about the right position, and then I hit scale, okay? Now, I'm going to move it into position a bit more, okay? So now what I need to do is I need to get rid of the white, because I don't want that white around. I just want the shield. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to use my ellipse select, and I'm going to move those edges until they're right in line with the edges of the shield. And there we go. Okay. And now, while I have it selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to select invert. So what it's doing is inside that layer, it's selecting everything outside the circle. Okay. And with it selected, now what I need to do is I need to delete. So I just press the delete button. Now, it's clear because it has an alpha channel. If you hit delete and it stays white, you have to go to layer, transparency, and make sure that it has this alpha channel. If it says add alpha channel, if it's not grayed out, then you need to click that, okay? And add alpha channel and then hit delete. Now, before I can move it and put it in place, I have to select none. Okay, so now I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to move it exactly into place where I want it. And then I can, to change its perspective, remember I'm going to go to tools, transform, and I'm going to go to the perspective tool. And it's going to let me grab and tweak that perspective until it gets right where I want it. I think about there works pretty well. So let's just hit transform, okay? And now, when I zoom out, I have replaced the medallion with something else, okay? So what you're gonna do for this tutorial is you're going to select, you're gonna move one or more of those birds, you're going to remove the bird that you moved, and then you're going to replace the medallion with something else that you find from the internet. Okay? Now, in order for this to be ready to turn in, I don't want to save. I can't say that strongly enough. You don't save these edits, because then if you save them, they're a GIMP file. And I don't want a GIMP file, I want a JPEG. Okay? So in order to get a JPEG, I don't go to save or save as, I go to export as. export the image. And then I rename it. And remember the way we name things, files, I would name this tutorial 1 JWrite, and then whatever block you're in, so A1 or A2 or whatever. And then you save it as a JPEG, okay? And you export it as a JPEG, right? So it's important. I don't want you to submit GIMP files to me. I will never pretty much ask for a GIMP file. I will always want JPEGs because the image itself is in the JPEG form. The GIMP file is the edit. Now you might want to save your edits so that you could remember how you did it and you could have them for later, but you won't ever submit edits to me. All right, so that's a lot for one video, but that gets us started. You can practice these skills. You can go back and rewind the video, but this is the tutorial that you will turn in for tutorial 1 this week. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. If not, I'll see you in the next video.